Ambassador Dayal, pick up on Tavleen's point, that it's time now to basically talk about Balochistan, another Bangladesh moment. Go ahead and respond. I can't
Let
hear
me,
Ambassador Dayal. Yeah, go ahead, sir. Yeah.
before I respond to that point, let me mention that I am totally in agreement with Ms. Tavleen Singh when she says that the Pakistanis somehow think that all Indians are Bunyas, and that's how they refer to it. I was posted in Pakistan in the early 80s, and I used to see how their Urdu language media would continuously speak of all Indians as Bunyas. They forget, as Ms. Tavleen Singh said, that we have Sikhs who are indeed the backbone of the armed forces. Now, let me mention, if I was to rewrite history, I would go back to 1947, to the time when partition took place, when we did not allow the Punjabis, especially the Sikhs, to settle down in Jammu and Kashmir. That was a huge mistake. J&K was our territory. We should have allowed the Sikhs and other Punjabis to settle down in Jammu and Kashmir, and today you would not have had any Kashmir problem. They would have fought the terrorists. They would have settled the score. The Kashmiri Pandits, a small minority, cannot cope with this task. They are not a fighting people. And in any case, their numbers are too small. So as I said, this was something that she stuck, as she said, and it struck a very familiar theme in my own thinking. Now, let me also mention, Barkha, on your channel, 3 days ago, I categorically said that we must realize that my enemy's enemy is my friend. When I was posted in Pakistan, I used to hear this continuous rant of we will bleed India by 1,000 cuts. This was not only said by their army generals, but by their politicians also. And this has continued to be the rant down the decades. We have been too conciliatory. We should.
Did we just lose Prabhu Dayal right in the middle of his comment? I'm sure he'll reconnect. General Kulkarni, we were trying to bring you in also. The points that we were discussing were about how an episodic response is not good enough. Tavleen Singh was making the point of Balochistan, breakaway Balochistan, about take back PoK. I want to ask you what that might entail. If that were established as the motive, what might that entail in terms of what India should understand and Indians should understand? We say this, but what does it actually mean in military terms and what it requires of the country?
Multifarious responses to what Pakistan has done. And even if you go with the Indus Water Treaty, since I was in Kishtwar, I know that Dulhasti project, where on various rivers and subsequently on Ravi, Satluj, Chenab, Jhelum, all the dams that we've constructed, maybe some of them which are run on the water. All said and done, what is very important is all the dams subsequently to stop water is a different thing altogether. It may take a long time. It requires almost 4 Tehri Dam kind of structures to come up to be able to stop water. And the Tehri Dam itself took 12 years to construct one. So notwithstanding that, very important is the data sharing. It isn't about water. Now, today I share data with Pakistan. I tell them I'm releasing water at 4 o'clock, this gate number, and I'll close that water at 6 o'clock. Pakistan gets to know the water is coming, then they divert to the canals, to the respective farmers, villages, and everything. Today and hereinafter, I won't be sharing data. They won't know Indus isn't flowing just about 200 kilometers. It's a river which is 1,000 kilometers. So if it is raining somewhere in Haryana and Himachal Pradesh, it is not raining in Delhi. You suddenly find Yamuna has so much of water, and you start thinking, how come Yamuna has got water when it isn't raining in Delhi? So this is what happens. This is a very big weapon that we have. It's almost like weaponizing water with a view to be able to tell the Pakistanis, herein no data sharing will be done. With Chinese, what are they doing? We were getting data from Brahmaputra. We are now buying data from Brahmaputra because the Chinese refuse to give it to us. So there is a lot that can be done about the Indus Water Treaty is concerned. As regards what Tavleen said about Bania, absolutely right, because this is what even Kasuri has written in his book, neither a hawk nor a dove. We would call the Muslims Musla and they would call Hindus Baniyas. So that is something which I was, even when I was there for 2 years, I know exactly what it means. Notwithstanding all that, right now, as the only good thing from a very bad incident that has occurred. This has actually united India. United India in a manner that everybody across whichever religion you may be coming from, if one does feel bad that Pakistanis are doing something which is not supposedly done, and they have let us down the trust factor, and that trust, and we now need to pay back Pakistan the
But
same
General
coin.
Kulkarni,
There is no denying.
in specific terms, where do we go from here? Right? Look at what's
Yeah,
happening. We are blowing up the houses of terrorists in the Kashmir Valley. Right? If we can bring up those images, every day there's another terrorist house that is blown up and razed to the ground. You have seen the navy signaling its readiness. We haven't actually spoken about that. I'd request you to speak a little bit about the significance of the navy and its anti-ship missile exercises that it has publicly sort of conducted today and released those videos. And then there is a demand for a more permanent intervention, a taking back of a PoK or a breaking away Balochistan. My question to you is, or as Robindra Sachdev said, strike the Pakistani generals, the Pakistan army, right? My question for you is, as somebody who is the hero of Siachen, there is a cost that comes to all of this. And when we say this, we have to be ready to pay that cost. And do people understand what this might mean in terms of a spiral up the escalatory ladder?
there is no denying the fact, Barkha. The cost would have to be paid. There is no denying the fact. They are not going to sit back tight. They will also retaliate. That the retaliation is expected, and that retaliation has to be, taken care of. And it is all bridged and get into it. But yes, say the naval exercises what you're talking about. Well, I
Yeah.
can't discuss much about it. But notwithstanding that, we've seen how the Karachi harbor was blocked. So the naval blockade and all these sea lanes of communication, all of it has to be taken care of. You know what Bangladesh does, or where the transfer of this ISI militants, Lashkar-e-Taiba, Jaish-e-Mohammed, being transferred maybe from one country to the other country, because Bangladesh almost seems to be playing now in the hands and gloves of Pakistan. So all that. Definitely, there's a lot that can be done. Even the nuclear blast that the Pakistanis seem to be saying that, whoa, we've got so much of Gazdanis, we have got Hataf, and we can do this. They can do nothing. What can they do? They know. But why wasn't it being used all along? Even in Kargil, the bluff was called off. It's not easy. Pakistan knows it uses nuclear, they get wiped out from the face of the earth. They're aware that Indians are not going to sit back tight, whether they use tactical or otherwise. Once they use, that's gone. That's the last. That's the end of Pakistan. Thereafter, as far as the Baluchis are concerned, Baluchis have all along been, from 1950 onwards, have always opposed Pakistan for a very simple reason: 4% of the population, 44% of the land, all of the mineral resources, including gold of it, being now taken by China. Earlier, the royalties paid a 5% to the Baluchis. You see the representation of the Baluchis in the Pakistan army, less than 2%. Look at the population, just 3 to 4%. And look at the representation so low. Look at the land that they're occupying. The electricity that the Gwadar International Airport constructed by China comes from Iran. That's the state. They don't even have drinking water, no electricity. Baluchis are suffering. So we don't need to do anything in Balochistan. Balochistan will break away within no time. It's just that. But yes, ceasefire by Pakistan. What does a ceasefire mean? Of course, now that the Simla agreement gets suspended, abrogated, whatever it is, it in any case wasn't being followed by Pakistan whatsoever. But now you're free to do what we want to do.
Right.
And look at the Baluchis. The ceasefire agreements were all in favor of Pakistan. Pakistan lifted troops from the western border and moved them to Balochistan, into Khyber Pakhtunkhwa, only to lose 1,500 troops every year because they couldn't fight. Oh, you heard Fazlur Rahman, what he said in the parliament, that there are 6 provinces in Balochistan who don't fly
Which are not
Pakistani flag.
absolutely. So
Yeah.
you seem to be saying Balochistan is going to break away on its own. That's the momentum, and that is, by the way, my theory for why Munir made the speech he did, why Pahalgam has happened. He is desperately trying to divert from his own failures at home. We need to start taking last comments, Mr. Sachdev. I'll start with you, Robindra Sachdev. Where do you see us going from here? Quickly, briefly.
I think a mix of all of these, and the government would do whatever it would do. We do not know. It could be something very surprising, very strange, which we may have not imagined overall. But yes, the sentiment is that something could and should happen. Regarding the water treaties, yes, you see, the government also said step 1, 2, and 3. In 1, they said stop sharing of data, with the implications which General Kulkarni is saying. In phase 2, what they're going to do is the eastern rivers, that is the ones which were in our quota, we would start utilizing more of their waters. As of now, from 35 million acre feet, We use around 30 million, around 5 million acre feet flows into Pakistan, stopping those, etc. And the third step, long term, would be what I call 47 by 47. One more thing I'll say in terms of pragmatic. I don't know. I mean, lots of our folks in the diaspora are protesting outside the Pakistani embassies, high commissions, etc. I think our diaspora should actually start pressurizing more the lawmakers in their own respective countries to whatsoever sensitize, because that would be something, at least building up some pressure. To my mind, sure, protesting outside the high commissions does bring something. It creates the optics, but it doesn't move the needle much. Whereas if the diasporas engage more with
Yeah.
elected lawmakers, that could add to something.
Well, we
And
saw
something I'm trying.
where we saw the crazy colonel of the Pakistan army
Yeah.
basically do this throat slit gesture as he was holding up pictures of Indian Air Force hero Abhinand Vartaman, who was taken into custody and then released. That time Imran Khan was the prime minister. Sorry, Robindra, you're saying something. I want to move on now to Ambassador Dayal. Ambassador Dayal, last thoughts. We lost you there briefly. Complete your point.
Well, I'm sorry I got eliminated because there was some telephone call from outside, but it doesn't happen on Zoom. I'm surprised I was knocked out suddenly in the midst of what I was saying.
Sorry for that, but please
General
complete your
Kulkarni
point.
has
Yeah.
said some of the things which I said and which I had already said on your channel 3 days ago. While the Baluchis and the Pashtuns are fighting against the Pakistan army, they need help. And as I said, my enemy's enemy is my friend. We should assist the BLF and the Tehreek-e-Taliban Pakistan in every manner possible. Now, we have to find ways to assist. Of course, we have the money, we have the weaponry, but sometimes there is a problem how to reach them to these people. Well, we have to explore options. The relations between Afghanistan and Pakistan are quite dicey, and we have to explore an option in that context also. I don't have to spell it out. Our intelligence agencies are very clever. They're exploring all options. But let me mention that the biggest terrorist outfit in Pakistan is not the Lashkar-e-Taiba, it's not the Jaish-e-Mohammed, it's not the Hizbul Mujahideen, it's the Pakistan Army and its intelligence wing, the ISI, because they orchestrate, mastermind, and fund these terrorist attacks against India, because it's their policy to wage covert warfare. They want to bleed India by 1,000 cuts. They don't want to fight us headlong. So they are waging this covert warfare against us. They are the biggest terrorist outfit. As I said, the High Commission of this terrorist country should not exist in our country. We should close it down. We have to tighten our security. Things were very normal and tourists were going, but now I must be honest, people are scared. The economy of Jammu and Kashmir will be hit. The tourism sector will be affected. We have to straighten things out. We have to, first of all, identify why this sort of a thing took place. Are there tunnels from which the people from PoK are crossing over into Jammu and Kashmir? We have to see how this sort of a phenomena is taking place. And who are the fifth columnists? Who are the sleeper cells of the ISI? We have to, it's a huge task ahead. Now, I must also address very briefly this issue relating to the Indus Waters Treaty. Of course, we don't have the full infrastructure, but work in that context has already been taking place. We don't need to put in 20 years. It's a much, much shorter time span that is needed to completely take away the waters of the Indus River, the Jhelum, the Chenab, and utilize those waters.
Okay.
Moreover, once we say that the Indus Waters Treaty is in abeyance, we have no obligation to pass any sort of information to Pakistan. And this becomes a serious problem for that country in the context of the flooding season. We always used to share information which was relevant for Pakistan, which was helpful to Pakistan during the flooding season. Now we don't have to do that. And that's a cause of very big worry for them. So there is a whole slew of measures. Everything is on the table. No option is off the table. Our government will take care of all aspects.
All right. General Kulkarni, very briefly, and then I'll give Tavleen the closing word. You've already outlined a whole series of options. What should we be ready for? You see, you're seeing on your screen the faces of the terrorists. Two of them are local, two of them are from Pakistan. Now there's a third being looked at. And these men, as Tavleen pointed out, these terrorists have to be caught, but they've probably just folded back into the forests. And, the line of control is actually an impossible area. Even after fencing, you can't guarantee that nobody is going to come across. But one of these fellows went on a visa to Pakistan, came back as an infiltrator, Adil Thokar. We know those details now. Quick last word, General Kulkarni.
See, the source of terror has to be destroyed, and so as the support base of it has to be destroyed. Even the kind of houses that we're destroying of these people, they have to be destroyed. They'll automatically, once the source of terror is destroyed, everything will fall in place. The source of terror is what Ambassador Dayal said, the Pakistan army. And that's all. Destroy the Pakistan army, finish it off once and for all. The leadership has to be destroyed, whether it is the Soleimani way or whether it is the Hezbollah way. The leadership in Pakistan, which believes only in terrorism, has to be eliminated and destroyed. How we do it, when we do it, how much time it will take, well, we leave it to the government to decide, but that's the only way forward, no other way.
Tavleen, let me give you the closing word. I think we're all in agreement that this time the response cannot be about terror camps. It has to be where it flows from, which is the Pakistan generals. And I think that everybody is agreed on. Hit them where it hurts. Last thoughts from you.
Well, for a start, immediately there should be a response. Like I said to you last time, and I wasn't joking, bump off a few generals if we have the assets to do that. But we have to remember that, I'm just a practical person. There was a Mukti Bahini without which there wouldn't have been Bangladesh. We need a Mukti Bahini in Balochistan and in PoK. These are two provinces that are very, very enraged with Pakistan because they've been neglected. So why haven't we already done that? That is what I want to know. I'm sick and tired of saying, oh, next time and next time. It's just, it is too much. Wasted effort. So a Mukti Bahini in Balochistan and a Mukti Bahini type thing in PoK. And let's get on with that.